fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Welcome to What the Fuck Are You Reading with Kali and Kaci, a podcast and book club for all of the book lovers and shit talkers.
All right. Hey, Kaci. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Recovering from a little bit of Mardi Gras yesterday, but mostly good.
Oh, yeah. I didn't get to do any of that, but I'm sure that it was a good time.
Yes, it was my daughter's first ever Mardi Gras parade, and she loved it.
I wish I could have seen her dancing.
I got lots of pictures I'll send your way.
So I have been reading One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig,
Yes.
and this was recommended to me from a few members of our book club, and it's a little bit out of my comfort zone because my fantasy has been pretty much restricted to Twilight and Harry Potter. So,
Okay. This is, like, way more than you're used to.
yes, I don't know if it's considered high fantasy. I don't really know how all of that, those descriptions work, but
I was about to say I don't know terms.
I don't know that term, but anyway, it has been good, but it has also been kinda complicated, which I just thought we could dive in and talk about it and,
Yeah. So I have
maybe.
read this book before, but it's been long enough now that I don't 100% remember everything, so you're probably gonna teach me things that I didn't even pick up the first time that I read this book.
Well, that's what I'm hoping is that I can take it like, break it down into small enough pieces that people who
Mhm.
read it, just kinda skimmed over it or listened to it on audio and didn't fully take in everything might better understand it and be able to read the next one if they haven't with a really good understanding of the first one.
Mhm.
So we start off talking about an illness. We meet Elspeth, our protagonist. Elspeth? Elspeth?
Yeah, that's horrible.
Uh, yes, I'm not sure how we pronounce that, but like a take on Elizabeth. She is running from some physicians that had swarmed her house. She was pushed out of a window by her cousin who was trying to save her, and she hits her head on a rock and is bleeding and struggling to make it to a tree line in the woods before she faints. A voice comes into her head and urges her on, and she loses consciousness before she makes it to the trees. So she called for help, and something came over her, and she was able to make it into the woods. She survived. This is her as a child. After he saved her, she stopped fearing the voice in her head. He had somehow managed to hide in her mind and help her crawl to safety. So, a creature with strange yellow eyes and a smooth voice resides in her head. So, like, right off the bat, I'm having to wrap my mind around this.
Mhm.
So, a voice, a person, but, like, almost like a physical being
Mhm.
in her head.
And,
Like,
like,
it's
she kinda
very.
describes it as a monster, it seems like, with the yellow eyes and the yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So, they talk about there being an illness, which is why Elspeth was running away from those physicians in the first place. So is this the illness? Is this what happens to you when you get sick? Is somebody lives in your head for the rest of your life? So that's what I wasn't sure of when we started. Then 11 years pass, and she's walking to go meet her cousin Ione in town. And she has this crow's foot charm that seems like it's going to be very important in the rest of the book. So I wanted to note that. It seems to provide some level of protection for her. So my question is what is in there in the woods that she is
Yeah.
afraid of? Or is it in the woods? Like that's what comes to mind. So the town that they live in is called Blunder, and she actually lives a little out of town in the woods, but that's where everything revolves is around this town of Blunder. So Elspeth describes her cousin Ione as being honest, real, open, alive, easy, attractive, and loving. and she describes herself as being the exact opposite of all those things. So she
Damn.
is preparing us for what is to come. It's her name day that day, and she's visiting her father's house. So the name day, I don't know if that's the same thing as a birthday, but it seems like it. Like it's important to celebrate. No one knows what the infection has done to Elspeth. So when Elspeth became ill, her aunt Opal took her in. It was illegal to harbor a child who caught the fever, but Opal loved her and nursed her back to health, putting her family in danger, but her family loved her enough to hide her away and keep her secret.
Mhm.
Um, I think that the fever gives you some kind of magical properties, and it's illegal to associate with magic in any way other than the cards that we're going to talk about soon. Elspeth's infection would have to always be hidden or she would be killed, and her family would also be punished or killed as well for harboring her. The magic showed itself as a nightmare. So it's not exactly the illness. Like the illness doesn't affect everyone in the same way, but in
Mhm.
her case, she ended up with the talking monster in her head. So she passes by and someone's screaming in the streets. So the people that are infected can be identified by their veins, like in their arms specifically, is where they look because it turns them black. So it's very
That sounds so
visible.
scary.
Yes, it's very like visual representation because it's very difficult to hide when you get infected. And it seems to only I thought it only infected children. Do you recall? So I'm just waiting
Nope.
to
I
see.
don't remember.
Okay. So a woman is surrounded by destriers, and destriers are these black cloaked men who are the king's elite soldiers. So there she just happens to see, like while she's on her way to go to her dad's house, she just runs
I'm
into.
thinking Death Eaters.
Yes, yes, that's kinda what I'm thinking as well. And so the woman was getting arrested to be taken off because they found out she was magic. So whenever Elspeth enters her father's home, she's greeted by her father's steward. He led her into the parlor where her stepmom, Miriam, and her half sisters were. And Miriam is this total bitch who, like,
Mhm.
very clearly does not like her stepdaughter.
Yes, it is very, very clear.
So Elspeth notes that she sees her dad once a year on her name day, and I'm thinking like you can't be nice to her this one day of the year that she's coming to your house.
Elspeth must be hotter than her half sisters, and stepmom is mad about it.
Okay, I definitely got the impression that it was like the sisters from Cinderella,
Uh-huh. Same.
the
The
evil
whole
stepsister
situation.
or whatever they were. Yeah, so Naya and Demia. So Elspeth's dad must have really loved her biological mom though, because he always keeps irises in the house, still to this day, because that was her name, was Iris.
Mhm.
And so no, Elspeth is not close with her half sisters at all. It seems like her stepmommy dearest won't allow that. And there's a pretty big age gap too. Not quite as big as our age gap, but they're 13 and she's 20.
Mm.
Naya tells Elspeth that they had been invited to celebrate equinox at the king's castle, which has like music, dancing, games. It's this big celebration. But Demia, one of the sisters, half sisters, says that she's not excited because the last equinox, High Prince Hoth got in a fight with the female destrier Jesper Ewe. So it's not all fun and games at the equinox, is what it seems like. So the nightmare in her mind lets Elspeth know that her father's coming. So in the darkness, she looks down the hallway. She sees this royal blue light called a Providence card. And this is what this whole book revolves around, or these Providence cards.
Okay.
So this particular card is the well card. It looks like a sapphire beacon floating above the ground. So a Providence card is the size of a regular playing card, and it's hemmed in velvet all the way around. This card had been her mother's dowry. So that's how valuable they are.
Mhm.
It's very, very valuable. And Elspeth is only able to see the light because of this creature in her head.
So
So
she's
he
the
could
only one that is able to see the light.
She is yes, correct. She is the only one able to see it, and she couldn't see it if she didn't have this nightmare living in her head already. That's the
Yes.
only way she can see it. So there are 12 total Providence cards that make up a deck. They were the only legal way to perform magic. So they can be used by anyone. They're activated by touch and intention. So, like, you have to, like, tap it 3 times, I think, and be thinking what you want to do with it, and that's how you activate it. So anyone can use it. You can steal it from people, basically, is what I'm saying. Like, they're very sought after, very expensive, and people are willing to use, like, not nice methods to get them.
Mhm.
So to use, you clear your mind, hold a card in your hand, tap it 3 times. To make the magic stop, you tap it 3 times again, or someone else touches it. So And here's the big kicker, there are consequences if you use the card too long.
Oh my
So,
god,
we
and
don't
how are
know
you supposed to know?
exactly! Like, I have so much anxiety already, and now they're like, first of all, what is the consequence? Is it gonna be worth
Uh-huh.
using it at all? And then how long is too long? Like, can you use
Yeah,
it, like,
will an
once a
alarm
day?
go off?
Mhm. Yes, is there a warning sign? So the Providence cards are extremely rare. Elspeth has only ever touched one before in her life. Hmm. So her father's name is Eric. He was once the captain of the Destriers,
Oh,
which are
wow, okay.
they're the group that hunts those that carry magic. Like, that's their sole purpose, is to do that. And her father was the head of them before
And
he
she
retired.
was sick, and they protected her.
Yes.
Period.
Yes. So, and he does seem to have a soft spot for Elspeth. He walked in with a handful of flowers. He always gives her yarrow on her name day. I don't know what yarrow is. Do you?
No.
Yeah. So, Eric and Miriam, dad and stepmom, act like they can't fucking stand each other.
Well,
So, hmm. and, but also Elspeth's relationship with her father isn't like all good and romanticized or anything like that. We don't know the details yet, but their relationship has definitely been turbulent. So Elspeth stays for dinner. Why is her name not getting easier to say? Like, as I
you're
keep
gonna have to
talking.
call her, like, L or something.
So Elspeth stays for dinner. Miriam tells her that Eric wants her to attend Equinox this year, but says that, your dad may want you to, but you're not fucking going. So, like, she is very clear, like, "Your dad wants you to, however, you are not gonna be making this event."
If
So,
I was Elspeth, I would be like, "I didn't wanna go before, but now I'm fucking going, bitch."
yeah, so I don't know if Miriam has something on Elspeth that Elspeth lets her treat her this way. I mean, other than the infection, but, like, they were also in the same family. If Elspeth gets caught, I think that Miriam will be in just as much trouble as anyone else.
Mhm.
So, I don't think that that's what she has on her. So we find out Elspeth's situation. She lives with the Hawthorns, which is her aunt and uncle. It's her mom's sister and her husband and their family. And Eric pays them to keep her. And she stays away from court, away from town as much as she can, just secludes herself to the woods to try to avoid
Protect their
detection.
secret.
Absolutely. So this interaction with Miriam really pisses Elspeth off, and she storms out and doesn't wait for supper or anything. And the nightmare scolds her for doing exactly what Miriam wants by running away. So her father did what happened was he abandoned her when she became sick. He sent her away, which I mean is better than turning her in and having her
Yeah.
killed, but he still chose his family, his new family over her, basically. So we have another protagonist with daddy issues.
Fucking welcome to the club.
Mhm. Elspeth's fever began the night of a great storm. Her father hid her and brought her to her Aunt Opal. The magic didn't show itself immediately, but everyone was really afraid of her because they didn't know how the magic would show itself. Because
Yeah,
sometimes,
they knew it was coming, they just didn't know what it was.
right, and sometimes some of the children, if they managed to stay away and survive, because a lot of times the fever itself would kill the kids. But if they survived the illness and sometimes their magical properties were so apparent that they just absolutely could not be hidden.
Mhm.
So they didn't know what her situation was going to be. So one night, her uncle came home from the woods and his sword was bloody. So she knew that he had just been in an altercation and he had procured a Providence card from a highwayman. He left the Providence card in the library and Elspeth snuck in to see it, and it was a nightmare card. There were only 2 of this card in existence. It gives you the power to speak into the minds of others, and its consequence was if you use it too long, it reveals your darkest fears.
Mm.
So I don't
So
know if
what
that
would
means that it reveals them physically? You know what I mean? Like, is your darkest fear gonna show up?
So what would yours be?
Oh god. It would have to probably be something like losing my child.
Oh, yeah, that's dark. I was thinking, like, I'm scared of the ocean.
No, I dove straight in.
Goddamn.
Sorry, like, I'm still thinking about Gabby Petito and her mom.
Oh my god.
So, the nightmare card, there's this furred, hunched creature with a bristled tail, long, hairless fingers with vicious claws, and its face was somewhere between human and beast with these nasty, jagged teeth and yellow eyes with cat pupils.
So the man that lives in her brain.
Yes, very it's a monster. It's a
Yes.
monster. A monster. So she touched the card and she remembers the magic smell. Like magic smells like salt. And she has this burst of pain and she faints. And she wakes up still in the library, but no longer alone in in her mind.
Mm.
So that's when she first heard the monster and she could always hear him clicking his nails together, which would irritate the fuck out of me.
You used to holler at me for breathing.
Oh, I can't do not fucking click your nails or your teeth or Colin definitely, like, I can remember in fact, I tell my kid all the time, like, "I'm telling you, if you were my brother, I would have punched you in the face already for breathing so close to my neck."
Poor Colin. No, Colin did used to whistle, and now whistling is, like, my number 1. I hate whistling.
Yeah. So, she spoke to it for the first time, and whenever it answered, she was terrified and she tried to escape from it, but she finally realized that this was her magic. So she could not speak into the minds of others, but she could speak to the voice in her mind.
Mhm.
So I guess the card itself, the nightmare card, allows you to speak into other people's minds. So it's not that she wasn't able to do that completely, but now she just always has to talk to this dude in her head. I'm thinking, like, doesn't it get awkward? Like, what about when you go to the bathroom?
"Hey, can you turn around? I need to take a shit."
Yes, I'm just bothered by that. Like, I'm a secret pooper. I don't so She researched in the Book of Alders to learn everything she could about the nightmare card, which is this book is like an encyclopedia of the info about the Providence cards, like all of the information about them.
Mhm.
So it was written by the Shepherd King, and he says of the nightmare card that it can bring your deepest fears to light. It brings haunting and terror. So the nightmare does not scare Elspeth, though. She's gotten used to it. It's just her companion now, and it saved her when she was a child. It does seem to have her best interest at heart, so she just lives with it. The nightmare had his own magic. To him, the Providence cards light up like a beacon. And since he's in her mind, Elspeth can see it too. So she benefits in other ways as well, becoming faster and stronger, have better sense. Like, this is what I need a nightmare. I need a nightmare card. Sometimes the nightmare goes dormant and she barely notices him, and other times he takes over her mind entirely. So we don't know who he is exactly. Like, why does he exist in this card and now in her mind?
Yeah.
Um, Not sure if that will come to light. So after leaving her father's house, when her stepmother Miriam pissed her off, Elspeth has to walk through the forest alone, which she does appear anxious about. So again, what is in the woods? So apparently there are highwaymen because so this is the second time we're hearing about highwaymen. The first time her uncle stole the card from a highwayman, and now as she's making her way back to her uncle's house, she is ambushed and held at knife point by a highwayman.
Great.
So she calls out to the nightmare for help in her mind. Like, I guess she's not speaking out loud whenever she does all these interactions,
Mhm.
but the attacker asks her name and the nightmare tells her to lie. So she responds that she is Jane Yarrow, and the nightmare tells her to say that she has nothing of value, but she's too afraid to say that. So, like, he's starting to get angry on her behalf. So she tries to name drop and say that she works for her uncle, Sir Hawthorne, but this is not the correct thing to say because they are after his Providence cards.
Oh, fuck.
So yes, the punishment for stealing a Providence card is a slow, painful, and public death. So I want no part of that.
Mm-mm.
So she lies and says she's a maid and doesn't know anything, and they don't believe her. But by this time, the nightmare wants out to handle this situation. And Elspeth is resisting. She doesn't want him to reveal himself and take over if she can help it. But when the attacker goes to check her sleeve, which means he's going to check to see if she's fucking magic,
Mm.
which is a death sentence, the nightmare goes into full panic mode. And I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to pause, but she's overcome with this nightmare strength and she dashes like she kicks the knife. She turns into like full-fledged Jackie Chan, kicks the knife away, knocks him down, runs away. So anytime that she lets the nightmare take over, like he takes over and she's able to kick ass.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm not sure why
I
she doesn't
mean,
let him do it more
total
often.
nightmare. Yeah, total nightmare, but still awesome.
And any time that she lets the nightmare take over is when her veins turn black and she's got obviously is magic.
Oh, great.
So she is able to keep it at bay most of the time. So a messenger came out the next morning at breakfast, and it's an invitation to Stone. Stone is the name of the king's castle for equinox. And everyone is excited except Elspeth. So her uncle is carrying a Providence card today, but this one is different. It has a burgundy light. Burgundy light. It's the nightmare. It's the nightmare card that he's holding.
Mm.
So not the he has multiple, I guess. So Uncle Tiern Hawthorne explains to the family that this card is what will be used to pay their taxes this year. And my thought is that they must be in a pretty severe financial bind to let this Providence card go.
Yeah, it seems that way.
only 2 in existence, and to be that, to be worth that much, anyway, it seemed like it said a lot about their situation.
Yeah, like they have no other choice.
So we find out that Providence cards can't be destroyed because they're woven with magic. Elspeth's younger cousins, Lynn and Aldrich, stare in awe as their father demonstrates by he tries to rip it up and nothing happens. Like, it's not possible. The magic was gifted to the Shepherd King by the spirit of the wood, and he used it to make the Providence cards. It's implied that the Shepherd King started off as a good person, good king, good man, but over time turned to evil. So the spirit of the wood is what we have to fear in the wood. She is described as an ageless deity smelling of magic and salt. It lurks invisible in the mist. Before the Providence cards, the spirit of the wood was the people of Blunder's divinity. They would go to the wood and worship her, and she would gift them with magic or whatever gifts. And the Shepherd King was so reverent to her, like she appreciated him so much that she granted him the magic. And to share the magic with his kingdom, he made the Providence cards. There was a price for this, though. For every card he made, he had to give up something to the spirit of the wood. And among the things he gave up were his soul. So, like, what else could he even have to give up?
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, so you've given up your soul like you've given up everything.
Yeah, like you can't give up your car. Like your soul is biggest price.
Right. So the thing is that now there were Providence cards. People stopped worshiping the spirit of the wood. They didn't need her anymore. And this really upset her. She became vengeful and created this heavy mist that surrounds the town, and it lures people into the wood and causes people to become lost and lose their mind. This isolates Blunder from all the other kingdoms. People are not able to get through, or they're scared to get through, because by going into the mist is how they catch the fever, the infection that gives them the
Okay.
magic.
Okay. And is this why she has to carry around a pendant or
I
whatever?
think so. I think so. So if the child survived the fever, they would have magical gifts, but the magic was unmanageable and dangerous, and few of them survived into adulthood. So the Shepherd King tried to get the spirit of the wood to remove the mist. He wrote the Book of Alders, teaching about the magic and its dangers and how to remain safe from the mist. So with a charm. That's how they keep themselves from catching the infection. To destroy the mist, the cards need to be reunited with the black blood of salt. They had me until the blood part. I'm not really sure what that means. So we
Same.
have to get
You're
all the
doing a
cards
great
back together.
job. You're doing a great job explaining it up until that. What is black blood of salt?
I don't know what the black blood of salt is. So the problem is the reason he can't tell is like, okay, you already lost a fucking card. Like, just put them all back together. But thing is, he bartered one of his cards, the Twin Alders card, to get this info from the spirit. So he could no longer reunite the cards. No king has been able to do so since. So we got to
Great.
find this card, right? Like, that's about to be what this book about? Finding this card? Thank you for listening. Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify.
Go like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube, join our Facebook group, and follow us on Instagram.
The links to everything are available in the show notes.
And 5 stars only. If you have anything less, please turn your phone off and mind your business. Bye, fuckers.